What? Were you talking to me, Tony? What? Are we okay? Is everyone happy? Okay, happy is the wrong word. Is everyone getting the feed? Is everyone... Doral, you still good? Okay. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I always appreciate the fair warning. Mic check, 1, 2. Dear, are you getting... I don't know what to tell you. Caleb, you're okay? Doral's okay? Who else is using HDMI in the back? Okay, yeah. If someone would be so kind. Yeah, Caleb, thank you for trying to help Spencer. I tested every single HDMI port, and I got audio and video out of all of them. Tested it all this week. All right, check 1, 2. How are the TV stations doing in the back? We still doing okay? Wonderful. Yeah, Sean, the shrug doesn't surprise me from you. That's okay. I should ask. Hey, Chuck. I'm talking to no one right now, but Chuck, how's the audio levels? Obviously, if most of everyone in here is okay, I'm guessing audio levels are okay on your end, seeing as how you're the one feeding them. But wonderful. Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate that. I talk to him. He texts me. We have a nice back and forth. Hi, Lori. Check 1, 2. What's happening back there with the camera? What's is go ahead. Should be input 28 on, I can't remember the output at the moment. I think it's on 105.1, which I think is 16. Yes. Hi, Spencer. Hello. Mic check. 1, 2. Wonderful. Love the thumbs up. Glad we're doing good. Yeah, I can keep going. I can. Oh man, I can keep going. I can keep talking. We will keep talking until Coach Day kicks me off the podium. That's pretty much. This is. I always have to give up the podium when it's his turn. Check 1, 2. I was gonna say, do you? I kind of feel bad for you right now. Can you? You can come inside the Tensa barriers, so you're not standing out there. Like, just yeah, loop yourself around. There you go. Just. What's up, Berm? All right. How's everyone else doing? Wow, it got crowded in here quick. Mic check. Jeremy, everything okay back there? Okay. Wonderful. The one other addition that I will make for next week, completely forgot the hardline internet connections in the back. I'll get that taken care of. We'll have those for next week to share, just for live streaming people. I know what you mean. Yeah. All right. Everyone else doing okay? Copy. Just Jerry?
That's good. All right, we're going to open up the floor for questions. Front row here, Tim May on 3, Letterman row.
Ryan, just in a nutshell, everybody's going to be asking about the quarterbacks in this situation. What's just your take coming out of this game just before you watch videos?
Yeah, coming out, I thought Kyle had poise coming into a second game. You could just feel a little bit of that part of it. I thought Devin early on was a little anxious, but then I think for him, once he gets hit and gets a little tired, he calms down a little bit. You can see the talent there. So we'll look at the film and see, but I thought Kyle came out pretty efficiently overall. And I thought Devin made some plays as well.
Yeah, and real quickly, offensive line, is that still a work in progress from your view today?
Yes.
Can you get this extrapolate?
No, not right now.
Okay, over here to the left, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Yeah, I'll just ask you point blank. Did Kyle do enough today to cement the starting quarterback job?
We'll look at it over this weekend and try to see if he's taking that step and kind of where we're going. I'm not ready to make a decision right now.
Over here to the left, Clay
Right
Hall,
now.
or to the right, Clay Hall.
What did you have a follow-up?
Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah,
My bad.
Was there something that did impress you
Yes.
that Kyle did today
Well,
that
I
didn't last week?
I thought he came out of the gate. I think there was, something maybe in the back end early on for them that they, but he found Marvin and then hit the play action. I think early in games like this, how you play matters. And I like how he came out of the gates playing well. They're fresh. They're playing their best football in that first quarter. And you want to see us playing good football. And, he made some nice throws early on and that was good. And he got himself into a rhythm and showed, that he can make some of those throws, and that's important. And I thought even in the 2-minute drill, I know he wants that first one back. He's got to get that ball out of his hand a little bit faster. The second one, Marv did drop. It's rare that he drops one. And then he was smart on third down and not forcing it. So, overall, I thought he was solid, but we'll look at the film and see.
Over here to the right, Clay Hall, and then Clay, give it to Nathan when you're done.
You got
WSYX.
Would Kyle have more privileges now? Can he improvise in any way, or does he still have to be right on plan as you orchestrate it?
I think as we start to get more games under our belt, you'll start to see more and more open up. But He looked more comfortable for sure in this game. And, every time you play, and that's why we try to get Devin more snaps to get kind of those first things flushed out, things maybe you saw Kyle in the first game, that way, you saw maybe a little bit with Devin in this game. But I don't think Kyle really missed any throws, maybe a read or two. I guess maybe there was a couple, but I thought he was much more efficient in this game. I think he was more comfortable back there. At least it looked that way to me.
He's not the full-fledged starter yet.
We'll see. We'll look at the film and kind of evaluate it after we watch the film and go from there. And like I said, we'll take it week to week.
Over here to the left, Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch, then give it to Joe, please.
Yeah, it's fairly or unfairly quarterbacks are compared against the guys that preceded him. CJ was great. It's seeing the field, reading the field. Where is Kyle in that specific area? And he did look more poised, I thought, in the pocket.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is hard to compare to other quarterbacks, but I think the more you play, the better you see it. And, I remember that first game against Minnesota. CJ struggled in that first half and then really calmed down in the second half. And then did some really good things in the Oregon game, threw a couple balls into coverage in that game, but there was enough in that game to say, ooh, we might have something here. Even though we lost the game and people were coming at him hard, he threw over 400 yards in that game because we had to. We didn't do a good job running the ball there. And then you could start to see it develop over time. And it was a tough stretch in there, But you think about Dwayne, I just kind of felt like Dwayne saw it. You could kind of see that early on. Justin, that was a little bit different. It took him until almost past the Michigan State game before he really got him. But he was so athletic, he could make plays with his feet. So I guess I go through those guys because you're asking about his predecessors. And I don't think we'll know the answer to that until we get a few more games in. The same thing with Devin. Because when you're seeing it for the first, I remember being a quarterback. It's like, what you put the film on, you're like, what did I see? And then the next time you do it, you're like, oh, okay. And then sometimes you come out of games, you're like, I don't even know what just happened in that game. I just found the flow of the game. I found the rhythm of the game. And that's something we talk to our quarters about. Find the speed of the game. Because if you're too slow, not good. If you're too fast, not good. And that's part of playing this game. And so we tried to get both guys into a rhythm early on. Sort of did that. We'll continue to try to do that.
Over here to the right, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com, and then pass it over to Austin Ward, please.
But last week, Indiana's offensive playing style limited the number of possessions you had. Today was Youngstown State's execution at times, and maybe lack thereof from your defenses. What did you see defensively and an inability to get off the field sometimes?
Yeah, that's why we took the ball early. I felt like maybe that would be their game plan. I didn't know that they would, huddle and milk it all the way down to inside of 10 seconds and then try to run it on third down just to keep the clock going. But they did, and that's smart on their end. Maybe some teams are going to do that more and more. And it does create a level of anxiety because we're used to getting about 15 possessions a game and scoring 60 and 70 points. But we had 9 possessions. We're not used to having 9 possessions. It's 60 plays. There's a lot of guys that we're trying to get out in the field and get touches to and play. And boy, when you only have 60 plays, every single rep, you got to be on point. And, there's going to be certain guys that don't touch it when they're 60 plays. So, yeah, every time there was a third down or a first down on defense, I was struggling because I knew where we were headed. So, it's the defense's job to hold the other team to, not scoring very many points, and they've done that. 3-7, you can't ask for much more. But in a game like this, where the other team's trying to just milk the clock and limit your possessions, we would love to see us get off the field more. So we'll look at the film and see where that was, and see if we can find out where the execution breakdowns were.
Over here to the left, Joe Nugent, WCMH, and then give it to Dan, please.
How good was it to see Marv get going early and have a big day?
Yeah, great. And when you're in for one of these days that the clock's going to get milked out a little bit, you want to make sure that you're getting those touches early on. And so to see him get those 2 big plays early was a deep breath. But we targeted him a bunch. We targeted Mecca a bunch. And then sometimes it works out that way based on the play. Even the long run, the long pass that he had, that play really wasn't designed for him, but he popped on it, and that kind of surprised all of us on third down. The guy you think that they'd be doubling would be him, and all of a sudden he popped. And so Kyle found him. Did a great job. But good to get him, his touches and his targets, because we did the same. We tried last week. It's just sometimes when they take it away, the ball has to go somewhere else.
Over here to the right, Austin Ward, Rivals, and then give it to Dylan, please.
Ryan, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so I don't. If you ever have any disappointment or frustration going through a game offensively right now, how difficult is that because of the standard of a year ago with CJ and 3 NFL offensive linemen in your mind to, I don't know, get through the growing pains and evaluate that when we got used to watching more points and you probably got used to scoring more points?
Yeah. I think that the difference right now is just the number of plays. Yeah. Because if, you don't get called for holding there and we score, it's 42 and we scored 6 touchdowns and 9 possessions. We'd take that 67% of our drives scoring touchdowns. But to your point, yeah, I mean, we're used to scoring 60 and 70 in some of these games. And it's for a couple different reasons. One, maybe not as efficient as we've been. But I thought we were pretty decent in the first half. But then 2, just the way that it's going with this clock and teams, huddling and snapping it inside of 10 seconds. And it doesn't take much to get a couple first downs. And before you know it, you've look up and you've had 3 plays in the third quarter and there's like 4 minutes to go. So something we just have to recognize. And I think we saw it coming. I talked to Jerry about that going into the first game. I said, this is going to be an interesting year because of this rule. And man, that clock just seems to keep running. And so we'll have to be more efficient and do a great job, especially in the first half of coming out of the gates and being, really good with that, which again, I thought we did that on offense. We were much more efficient, regardless of the opponent. You have to make sure you're clean. I did think the protection was good on the offensive line. That was solid. Bigger challenges to come.
Over to the left, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors, and then give it to Pat, please.
Ryan, with the Notre Dame game coming up in a couple of weeks, is there more of a sense of urgency going into this next week to settle in on one quarterback and start to give one guy all the reps?
I think that's worth considering. Yeah. But I think that's something that, we got to talk about as a staff.
Over here, Dylan Davis, Delaware Gazette, and then give it to Spencer, please.
I guess just expanding on what he said, how important is that for a quarterback to be able to have a full week of going in as the unquestioned leader of a team before they have to go into the challenge like Notre Dame? Is that, how much stock do you put in that? Is that a real part of it, or?
I don't know. I'll probably get on this film, figure out what this next week looks like, and then we'll figure out Notre Dame when we get there. But I think, again, it's a legitimate question. Yeah, I don't have the answer for you right now, but I understand what you're asking. We're just going to focus on Western Kentucky now and, do the best we can to grow this week. This isn't about, winning this game. Certainly we have to win this game, but we have big goals in mind. We're building this thing for the long run. And, we have high expectations. We want to be perfect. We know where we need to be. So we're not accepting anything other than excellence. And we know what that looks like. And it isn't just built in 1 week. So we're growing towards that. The guys are into it. They know what it takes. And, we've been in a situation where, early in the season, it feels like, okay, we're going right to the national championship. It doesn't work that way. You have to build the foundation the right way for the long haul. And I think our guys are bit into that and understand that. So we just need another great week of work this week and keep learning and pushing and getting these guys as many reps as we can.
Guys, we're going to have just time for a couple more, and then we're going to get some players up here over to the left. Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Ryan, after last week's game, you mentioned chips running today. Trayvion's over 11.2 yards per carry. Is this how you see this running back room playing out throughout the year? Different guys popping each week, perhaps?
It's good. Another great question. I don't. When you have 60 plays, man, there's just not a lot of rushes to go around. When you, so it is what it is. I really wanted to try to get Trayvion the ball. I think there was 2, maybe was there 2 runs that he had that were holds, or maybe that, I don't know. He did have, I guess, 2 catches. He had the 2 screens, and so we got to keep trying to find the ways to get him the ball as well, running the ball, but also out in space, because he's so good in space. You see how fast he is when he gets to that edge. It's got a chance to go. I know he was, he came over and felt awful about reaching the ball out, but boy, he hit that hole hard. He was running downhill today when he had an opportunity to do, and that was a great step. I was very impressed with that. So that was good. But he's going to have to be in games where he runs the ball more for sure. So, we'll keep doing that. But again, I just go back to in a game like this, when that clock's running and I'm looking at it, I'm just thinking about throwing the ball more so that we can get more plays. Cause I just feel like there's a lot of guys on our team that deserve to play. When you only have 60, there's just not a lot of plays to go around. and these kids deserve to get out in the field. So it's a little bit frustrating, but we got to deal with it.
Over here to the right, Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Right. When it comes to the offensive line, it seems like the progress isn't exactly linear. Like you get better run blocking, you get better pass blocking, you get the penalties. Last week, you don't have the penalties, but when do you need to start seeing progress become linear in that unit? And what does that look like moving forward to make sure that you guys know you can go to South Bend and be able to take care of business?
Yeah. Like yesterday, we have urgency. We want it now. We're not going to wait around and say, well, we'll get it next week. We got to get it fixed now. And I agree with you. There were some good things today for sure, but to use your term about, linear improvement, I think it's just the consistency. We can do it. I know we have the talent. Our guys are very, very talented. So we have to look at what we're doing schematically, make sure it's not too complex, make sure it's simple, because all we asked them to do was play really, really hard and execute. Effort and execution was the two things that we focused on all week. So we'll watch the film, and if the effort was there, then they get a check for that play. If the execution was there, they get a check. If not, then they don't, and then we'll find out who grades the champion. And it's really that simple. So, we have to identify if we're doing the right things with them and where the breakdowns are coming from, and that's the coaching.
And final question for Coach over to the left, Cameron Teague Robinson, The Athletic.
Ryan, you mentioned Trevion. Oh, you're right. You mentioned Trevion running and being physical, running strong through those holes. As you work through the growing pains of the offensive line and you work to try to get Kyle and Devin more comfortable at quarterback, how important is it to have a healthy Trevion that you can lean on? Like you said, he's probably going to have to run the ball more sometimes.
Yeah, no, you can see the explosiveness, and having him healthy is a home run threat at all, any point of the game. And that's what's fun about being around an explosive offense, and that's what I keep telling the quarterbacks. You don't have to make extraordinary plays. You just got to make the routine plays routinely, because we have these guys, and we'll keep trying to find ways to get the ball out in space to them, like we did a few times today with these guys, and get them the touches they deserve, because they'll make plays. Yes.
Yep. Coach, thank you very much.
Guys, thanks.
All right, folks, I need, if everybody could just kind of clear, students, if you guys could back up and get on the perimeter. I've got 4 tables back there. I'm putting Emeka Abuka at the front. We've got Marvin Harrison Jr. We'll go to a table back there. Kyle McCord will go to a table back there. I just one at each place. And Denzel Burks at a table back there. Yeah, there's a table. Hey, Kyle, I might just hold you here and put you up. But yeah, we can go ahead. Hey, Keith, what are we doing mic-wise? Are we still hot here? And then we're live here. Go ahead, and Lucy, you can just hand a mic to someone, and then just raise your hand, folks, for whoever wants it next. Over here, mic on the left. Rob, grab it from our student right there, and then anyone else who has a mic over here. Okay, go ahead, Dylan. Go ahead.
How good was it today just to get that passing game going? Obviously, you weren't targeted a whole lot in week 1, just to get in the flow of the game and be a big part of the offense.
Well, yeah, first and foremost, it was just great to be back in the shoe. I think we had a lot of energy coming back here, and just playing in front of the fans. We love playing here, obviously, at home. But yeah, it felt good to get rocking and to get, the ball in the air. But at the end of the day, however we get the dub, we're going to be happy.
Affect your rhythm at all when you have quarterbacks coming in and out of the game, 2 different quarterbacks? Does that affect you as a receiver at all? Is it just kind of like, you do what you do and,
Yeah, I won't say that's necessarily our job. Our job is to run the right route, get open, make plays after the catch. So, if the ball doesn't happen to be in the right spot, then, we don't try to discredit anything the quarterbacks do. We just try to work our own game. And whoever's in there, we expect them to get the job done.
Oh, Rob, you got a question for Mecca over here?
Yeah, just what did you see this week compared to last week? I mean, were you just more comfortable? The offense was just really kind of clicking a little more from your perspective?
We have to watch the film to know for sure, but I felt like we played harder, and I felt like we executed better than we did last week. Last week, I didn't feel like the offense was really hitting on any cylinders, and this week we still have a lot to go, a long way to go. But I feel like we're definitely taking steps in the right direction. But as Ohio State, 35 points is good, but our ceiling is way higher than that. So we got to get on the film, like I said. We've got to check out where we could have executed better. And like Coach Day was talking about with the the new changes in college football with the clock and everything like that, you're very limited on the amount of drives and the amount of plays that you have. So we got to really focus on staying on track, getting rid of some of those holding penalties and whatnot to be able to execute the way that we want to.
Ryan brought up repeatedly how different the game feels with the new clock rules. And I'm wondering how different you feel after a game as a player. Fresher, better? Is there a difference late in the game? Can you tell?
Yeah, I mean, 2 games into the season, there's definitely that impact of, the halves are flying by, especially in the second half in this game. I didn't even feel like there was a second half. But as in terms of my body, I guess I'll be able to tell with time. Week 2, I always feel pretty fresh. And then, the nicks and the bruises, they pile on. But we'll be able to see how I feel coming out, week 3, week 4, and later on down the road.
Increase the need to be a quick strike offense obviously, I guess you guys have to score more quickly with the clock going more quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel an increased pressure?
I wouldn't say an increased pressure. We're always called to execute. That's what we're here to do at Ohio State. But an emphasis this week was execution and effort. And we also had a big emphasis on tempo and getting plays out there quickly because we know the rules with the clock now. But that's part of the reason why we took the ball. We felt like we wanted to get off to a hot start. And that's one of my favorite things when we take the ball when we win the toss because I want to get out there on the field, score, give our defense a little juice to rally behind.
Over here to the right, we're going to just go a couple more with Emeka here. Brendan Gulick, Buckeyes Now on Fans Only.
Emeka, hey, are you guys playing as fast as you want to play? Do you want to play faster? Is that a part of the game that has a big focal point for you?
Faster in terms of what, like passing and stuff?
Tempo as a team, not necessarily whether you're passing or running, but fewer time between plays. Are you trying to go at a quicker tempo, or are you guys comfortable where you're at?
It comes with game planning. Every team's different. Every defense is different that you played. But I think we wanted to go tempo this week because we liked our matchups. And most of our tempo plays, we know by heart, and we're going to be able to execute at a high level and kind of just get plays out there like Coach Day was saying, instead of just letting that clock roll and roll and roll. We want to get as many plays as we can because we have such dangerous players. Once you get the ball in their hands, really anything could happen. So, it goes week to week, but at the same time, like there is a sense of urgency that we now have to have.
Over here to the left, then Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
I hope this makes sense. Last year, you guys had a lot of the CJ throws that were just like, oh my gosh, how did he make that throw? You come down with it. Last week, it didn't seem like they were there, but they were completions. Did you feel that there were a couple more of those CJ throws today from Kyle? It seemed like he was much more comfortable and in command.
Yeah. I would say that we expect that from whoever is in the pocket. We're at Ohio State, one of the, we're going to compete for a national championship every year. So quarterback play has to be high. And the guys in our QB room wouldn't be here if they weren't elite level talents like CJ. So I believe the sky's the limit for both of them. Anybody who plays quarterback here at Ohio State, that's really the expectation. And if they aren't there, then they're going to be elevated to the competition surrounding them. I mean, Devin and Kyle, they're kind of going at it from spring into fall camp. And I saw the levels of both of their games rise exponentially just because they were forced to that next level by the other guys. So I feel like, both of them are going to come along. And I feel like they are coming along nicely. A lot of people were mad at CJ after Minnesota, kind of same thing last week. But, we're going to get into a rhythm and you guys are going to see just how special they are.
Great. Emeka, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. All right, folks, we're going to open up questions at the front here for Kyle McCord. Over here, Dylan Davis to the right, Delaware Gazette.
Kyle, just how much more settled were you from last week to this week? I guess how big is that one start to be able to rely on that to settle in early today?
Yeah, for sure. I think anytime you can get that start under your belt and especially get a win against a good Big Ten team like Indiana, it's good for sure. And then you just use that confidence and that experience you got from that first week and carry it on the second week. And, now the goal is to use, what I learned this week and carry it on the next week and just keep that train rolling.
Over to the left, Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch.
You think you did enough to win the job outright?
I don't know, I mean, that's not up to me. That's a question for Coach Day. And like I said earlier, I think the only thing I'm worried about is whenever I'm on the field, just making the most out of my opportunities. And, if that's every single drive, then that's great. If it's, every other drive, that's great. If it's one drive, it's great. Whatever opportunities I get, that's what I'm going to try to make the most out of.
Came out of last week, I'm sure, wanting to another throwback or to do something differently. What'd you do today that you were happy about that maybe you didn't do last week?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just coming out of the gate and just, trusting my reads, trusting my arm, trusting the players around me. And I think we showed flashes of that last week for sure. But we were just spotty. And I feel like, especially in the first half today, came out strong and got things going. I got the ball in the receiver's hands, and they did some really good things after the catch. We aired it out a little bit, so I think it was a good mixture. And as long as we can continue to build that, I think we'll be in a really good spot offensively.
I'm going to pause for just a second. And people, if we could stay out of the middle area there, that way the camera gets a shot of Kyle and not back of people's heads. Over here to the right, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
You obviously connected with Marvin twice early for touchdowns. How important was that? And did I imagine back when you were at St. Joe's Prep, you thought about days like this, having days like this. Is that right?
Yeah. No, it was cool. I think that was my first touchdown to Marvin in college. So that was cool to finally see it come all the way from, when we first started playing with each other sophomore year of high school to now. It's been a long time coming. So like I said, just continue to use that momentum and continue to use that experience and grow and, hopefully create more of those.
Over to the left, Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
To get a pretty, I guess, easy touchdown on the first drive, how much does that help you going into a game? Whereas last week you might not have started so quickly, but this week you get that under your belt right away. How much does that help your confidence?
Yeah, I think last week, I think we did score in the first drive. It was a little tough, and I think we ended up running it in. And then I think this week when, Marvin breaks open like that and you hit him, and I think it was a 70-yard touchdown or something like that, that's definitely a really good momentum boost. And, we just have to continue doing a good job of being consistent and continuing. Even if, we don't pop a touchdown like that, just going down and putting a methodical drive together and scoring.
Over to the right, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
Kyle, Coach Day's been making a big deal about the reduced number of possessions that you guys have been getting these first 2 weeks, and not even necessarily the number of plays, but those possessions kind of compress things. How do you kind of get through that mentally? Because on the one hand, you want to make the most of those possessions, I guess you always do, but you don't want to, I guess, be pressing and trying to do too much with them.
Yeah, I think that has been a little bit, bigger and important to the game than I think any of us realized. If you don't get the ball first and the other team goes down, puts together 11, 12 play drive, you look up, you're halfway through the first quarter and you haven't even touched the ball yet. So I think it just makes you realize every single possession matters, every single play matters. And I think today in the third quarter, we started out, we went 3 and out, and I think we didn't touch the ball, I could be wrong, until like 4 or 3 minutes left in the third quarter. It's crazy just how fast the clock moves. But that just goes to show you have to make the most, when you got the ball, you have to, go down, score, and put points up on the board.
Over to the left, Katie Kapusta, Spectrum.
Kyle, Coach Day said a couple of words about how composed, how efficient you seem today and comfortable. Can you talk a little bit about just the emotions and what you were feeling today versus last week?
Yeah, I think last week, especially first start of the new year, season opener on the road, Big Ten team, there's a lot that goes into it. And I wouldn't necessarily call them distractions, but there's just a lot of things that go into that game. And once you get that game over with, got the win, and then got into the flow of a normal week with the practice schedule, and then just, our routine, and just kind of eased into it a little bit more so than I would say the first week. So I think definitely the emotions are just more calm more than anything. I feel like I think that definitely helps in the long run.
Over here to the right, Clay Hall, WSYX.
Similar question. Did you sense your heart rate was calmed down a tad today? You weren't hyperventilating.
Yeah, no. I think the biggest thing, like I said, is just, taking a deep breath and realizing it's football. It's the same game you've been playing since, I was 5 years old in the backyard. So.
How do you think Devin played today?
I think Devin did well. I think this was really his first live action where he got to open the offense up a little bit, got to throw it. He made some really good throws, some really good runs. I think flashes athleticism. I think he had a really good play on third down where there really wasn't anything open. He scrambled out, found G. Scott for a first down. So I think he played really well.
Cameron Teague Robinson, the athletic, over here to the right.
Kyle, as both you and Devin kind of get more comfortable in this offense and you guys try to get the offensive line more comfortable as well, how beneficial is it to have a healthy Travion Henderson who has looked as good as he had even going back to his freshman year?
Yeah, Trey had a great fall camp, looked really good, and I think kind of had that explosive step that maybe he didn't have last year because he was hurt a little bit. But a healthy Travion Henderson is scary, and I think he's shown flashes of it, last year. And then I think this year with him starting to get healthy again and getting his feet under him, you see it, how electric he is. And, we've been using him out of the backfield too. I think we threw 2 screens to him today and had some good success on that. So I think any way that we can get the ball in Trey's hands, it's a win for the Buckeyes.
We got time for 2 more questions. Over to the left, Andy Backstrom, Letterman Row.
Kyle, what has been your assessment of the offensive line so far, and what kind of improvements or what did you see from week 1 to week 2? I guess?
Yeah, I think the offensive line is probably one of the most important positions in terms of everybody just being on the same page, because receiver, you can be a one-man show and kind of win your route and all that, but the line, they have to do a really great job of communicating. All 5 of them have to be on the same page, and I feel like we're doing a good job. Obviously, I don't think we are where we want to be yet, but looking back on last week and then I think how we played this week, definitely a step in the right direction. And we got 5 really talented guys across the board, 5 guys who are really tough too. So I think just as an offense in general, it's just about taking that next step, and I think the O-line is included in that.
And final question over to the right, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Kyle, what's one thing you liked about what you did today, one thing you didn't like, and if you had to give yourself a grade, what would it be?
A grade, it's hard to give myself a grade without watching the film. I think the one thing that I did a good job today is just getting the ball out on time to the playmakers, getting it to them in open space and allowing them to work. And I think good things happen with that for sure. And then one thing I wish I had back was probably that pass in the 3rd quarter on that first drive. Missed it to Marvin. I just got to sit on that a little bit more, let him get open, let him work. But definitely some good, some bad, kind of the same as last week. Take the good and build from it, and then take the negatives and realize what you need to work on and continue to grow.
Great. Kyle, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Andy, can you just give it to Keith there, please? And that's it for interviews today, folks. Mm-hmm.